Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Cordray. It's good to see you again. I
Thank you.
had written you a letter about Tila Respa, and I know and I appreciate your efforts to try to make that more simplified for folks. Because of the line of work I've been involved in the past, I've closed a lot of loans in the past, and candidly, most of the times I didn't see the sheet until I was actually at the closing table,
Yep.
and I was okay with that because it sped up the closing process. At the same time, I know that the attempt here is to make sure that people know what they're doing in advance and have the opportunity to see it, and yet still things are pretty fluid with most loans, and there's some calculations that take place at the last minute for lots of reasons. And what we found, and I know that you know this, we found that what's happening is you've got responsibility or legal obligations shifting to the settlement agent, which really is just collecting the information and putting it in a closing statement. And I'm just wondering, I know that they can correct this within 60 days or a period of time, but there's some confusion over what is something that's just a little clerical error and something that matters. I know that right now attorneys are litigating over this, and we're finding that sometimes people are having difficulty selling these loans in the secondary market. I'm just wondering if you're considering making a ruling of some kind to alleviate the problems that I know you're aware of that are existing out there.
Yeah, so several things. First of all, it's a great example of congressional oversight and how these hearings matter. We had that letter from you because I'm testifying today. We did respond to that letter. It may have been late last night, may have been early this morning. Your office received it. You probably haven't seen it yet. I apologize.
I read it. I read
okay.
it. Yeah.
And that's because we knew that you would want to raise this issue again with me or likely would. In terms of the know before you owe rule, the purpose of that rule, and this is something Congress mandated, wasn't something we just dreamed up on our own, and it was a good purpose, and everybody acknowledged it was a good purpose. There used to be two different application forms, one issued by the Federal Reserve, one issued by HUD that occurred at the application stage, and two different closing forms, again, by each of those agencies under different statutes. And it was inherently confusing for consumers. Why am I getting two forms?
No,
What's the difference
that.
between,
I understand
all
the
that.
reasoning, and I
And the
applaud
purpose here,
reasoning.
the
sure.
purpose here was to streamline those forms. You all had a hand in making sure this happened, but our agency was given the job, and we have completed that job. Now, having said that, that's a big transition for mortgage lenders who have to work with lots of others in the industry, and all of their IT systems have to work together. We've recognized that. We have said that we are going to be understanding and diagnostic about the oversight of this in the early period. The early period now has stretched past 6 months. We still feel the same way, and I will reemphasize that today. There are some concerns that we want to be very mindful of. We convened recently the leading trade associations, the mortgage bankers, American Bankers Association, others, to hear from them about specific concerns they have that we can address. We've held webinars. We have another one coming up next week on these issues. We have compliance guides out. We do want to make sure that although this is better for consumers, and they tell us that it works for industry as well.
Right.
Mortgage lending was up 12% year over year in January from a year before. That's a good thing. As I say, it's something we like to see because this is good, responsible lending. And the closing times initially ticked up on this, but they ticked back down. And in February, the Ellie Mae folks said that this is kind of status quo as far as that's concerned. It's not necessarily for every institution, though. I get that, and we hear that.
So I want to ask you another question,
All right,
if I could. I think when you get to a point, and hopefully very soon, you'll be able to issue some clarifying language so that people know, whether something's a minor area or something that, is something that's major and actually taints the loan, if you will. I just think that would be helpful to industry, and I appreciate your concern in responding to my
We have been doing that. We will continue to do that. And if you're hearing things that we're not addressing, we're glad to have you continue to bring them to our attention. We're probably hearing them directly, but we're glad to hear them from you.
So
And of course, we sit up and take notice of that.